It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at the recent expansion to Betrayal at House on the Hill. Right here, Betrayal at House on the Hill, Widow's Walk, which gives you 50, mainly, it gives you a few different things, which I'll show you in just a second, but mainly 50 new haunts. The game, the base game, is a game in which all the players are exploring a mansion, some creepy place, and at some point, you are going to trigger a haunt, something that happens, and usually turns some of the people in the mansion against others. Sometimes it's one versus all the other ones, other times it's different, but that's basically the idea. Widow's Walk gives you 50 new stories, 50 new triggers, 50 new tales to tell. So, having said all that, let's take a look. I'm not going to go into spoilers. I'm just going to show you what comes in there, briefly tell you a little bit about it, then we'll come back up here so I can give you some thoughts about it. Here we go. This is going to be a very short overview because I don't want to spoil any of the content for you. Of course, part of the idea is that you discover these things on your own. So I'm just going to show you what basically comes in the game. You get more cards. You are going to get some new tiles, tokens, and then, of course, a new tome for each of the players or the sides once the haunt is revealed, as well as kind of a rule book, but mostly just the haunt in there. Don't look too close. So there you go. The main ideas in the game are that there are now, there's a new floor, which is the roof, okay? And so the tiles are going to show now a highlighted roof, and there is a roof landing that starts somewhere on the table. The way this works is every time you need to play a roof tile, you can play one that has the roof, or the upper floor, you can play that as well. That's basically that. And a couple of new symbols that show up on some of the tiles, like, for example, a dumbwaiter that lets you move up one floor or down one floor if you spend some extra movement, things like that. The new cards, of course, are going to give you new weapons, new omens, all of that, and then new tokens. But the main thing here is the new haunts. There are 50 more of those. Just like in the original game, there were 50. There are 50 more from different writers, sort of guest writers, if you would, who have contributed to the entire package here, added their own flavor, their own style. That's pretty much all I can say before I step into spoiler territory. So now let's just go back up and let me tell you what I think of this package, who I think it's for, all of that good stuff. First of all, let me say that this is not an expansion that I personally found to be very impressive, and I'm going to try to articulate why I didn't really like it very much. Before I get into that, though, I do want to say that I think if you are the kind of player that loves the original game, and what you want is more of the same, you're going to get it. So if that's all you want to find out, am I getting more of what I already loved in the base game, then yes, you're going to get that. I thought the base game had some issues. This expansion does nothing to address that, it feels to me. And there's a couple of other things that I found to be problems on top of that, really. So, some of the simpler things first. The cards, the new cards, have no symbol on them that would help you pull these out from the original deck. That's, at this point, obvious. You know, there's no reason why that shouldn't be on here. In fact, I had to take the entire deck of cards and hold them up against each other looking at their sides so I could separate the new cards from the old so that I could just have a stack on the table for the overview that was about the right size. Come on, we can put a little symbol in the corner somewhere so that I can separate those cards if I don't want to play the first time I'm teaching someone with the expansion in there. So, minor thing. The roof idea, a whole other level. Completely unnecessary, it feels to me. And in fact, this whole concept of if it's the roof or the upper floor, it can go on the roof, leads to really weird scenarios. There's a bunch of stuff on the roof that doesn't make any sense in the roof. And then a lot of the new tiles are basically ways to move around faster, which is sort of silly considering like you've solved an issue that you just created for the most part. You just made a whole other level, and then most of these things just let you move around faster. Okay, why don't you just not create a whole other level, and make these a little more interesting, as opposed to now you can move fast, now you can move really fast, now you can move up a floor, down a floor fast. And so I found that to be uninteresting. Again, it's sort of solving a problem that was literally just created. So there is that. The original game to me was one that was highly thematic. And again, I want to say, if that's what you liked, if you had no issue house ruling stuff as it came up, you will dig this. This is for you. You can stop watching the video and go pick this up. I think you're going to like it. I thought it had issues. I thought that it was a little clutchy. It could have been more streamlined, the original game. And in this expansion, I feel like that was not really dealt with. I still ran into scenarios where I sat there scratching my head going, okay, but can I do this? And what happens if what's the timing there if you do this first and then I want to use this power? And so you run into all those issues. And I don't like making house calls. Having to make a house ruling on the fly, to me, shines a light on bad design. And so I don't like it. If you're okay with that, then that's great, because you're going to enjoy this game more than me. But that's my issue. And so that's basically it. The writing in the game is fine, It fits the vibe of the original one. It's still a fun Halloween game, and you are going to get a lot of new content. And if you need it, if you've burned through the original game, if you're tired of seeing the same haunts, this is for you. If you were hoping for them to clean up the system, if you were hoping for flashy new stuff, I feel like mostly you're going to get more of the same in this expansion. And so this isn't quite one that works for me. It didn't take a game that was almost great and make it great. It just made it bigger. So that's my final thoughts on Betrayal at House on the Hill, Widow's Walk. I hope that, again, if this is up your alley, that you enjoy. For me, this is a pass.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.